This was the door that Lucy was in that video. We go over to it.
So let's talk about Visage and the story behind the independent psychological horror game that was released in October 2020 by SquareSpace Studios. So the game is set in the 1980s and takes place within a large suburban home. The game does revolve around Dwayne Anderson, but you do uncover the stories of a Dolores, Lucy and Raken, who also previously lived within the home. The first story that we will talk about is going to be Lucy. So Lucy was about a 7 or 8 year old girl who lived in the Visage home in 1961. Lucy's demon actually contacted her through the TV and the radio, so similar vibes to Poltergeist when the demon contacted the little girl through the telly. The demon told Lucy that it wanted to be friends. Lucy's behaviour began to change as the demon possessed her, and what made the parents get involved and seek medical attention was when the demon told Lucy that she had to kill her pet bird Pico. So Lucy killed the pet bird by biting his head off. Lucy told her parents the reason for her killing the bird was because of a demon. At this stage then, Lucy's parents were worried enough to get medical help involved. This led to Lucy going on syringes for her medication to treat the mental disorder that the doctors believed she had. It's believed that after going on these syringes as medication, Lucy developed a fear of this, and rather than her demon having claws, when you look at his hands, he actually has syringes. But there's nothing official confirming this. Lucy began to actually deteriorate once going on these syringes. They caused her a lot of pain and a lot of mental distress. It then led to Lucy one night locking herself in the bathroom. You can hear her parents plead and cry, and due to the mental distress plus the demon behind her, and we believe the demon possessing her, Lucy ripped off her jaw, ultimately bleeding to death.
What are you doing in there? Unlock the door, please. Lucy? Are you okay? Open the door now! Lucy!
What's going on?
Lucy, lock yourself in there. She won't open!
Lucy, open that door now. Lucy, open that goddamn door now! Move!
The next story belongs to Dolores, who moved into the Visage home in 1962 with her husband George and their baby. After moving into the Visage home, Dolores's mental health began to deteriorate, like Lucy's. But this time Dolores was showing signs of dementia, bipolar disorder, paranoia and anxiety. Dolores's husband had a slight understanding for mental illness and tried to look after Dolores and their child. This led to a strain on Dolores's husband, George, and he actually became an alcoholic and addicted to drugs. As Dolores's dementia progressed and got worse, Dolores became more and more paranoid of George. She began spying on George, thinking that George was up to something. We even see at one stage in the game when George tried to give her some tea, she thought that it was poisoned with rat poison and ended up knocking the character out.
I knew it. I'll show you, you damned scoundrel.
Dolores became more and more violent towards George, and her outbursts were very, very aggressive, which led George to becoming very overwhelmed, trying to take care of Dolores and their baby. He decided that he wanted to get extra help for Dolores, but she wasn't happy with this. Dolores responded to this decision by murdering her husband and stabbed him 7 times in the chest. Dolores' story is definitely a tragic one. After murdering her husband, she then hung herself out of guilt. The guilt ate away at Dolores and she couldn't take what she had done. This led the baby to die, and the baby was left alone in the house and passed away due to neglect. The next story then belongs to Regan. Regan was a 28-year-old man who moved into the Visage home in 1970. He was a former rugby player who had stopped playing due to an injury. When he moved into the home, he became quite paranoid. He kept finding objects around the house, and he genuinely thought that these were being used to spy on him. This led him to becoming very, very violent, to a stage where his neighbour Rose rang the police due to him screaming, shouting and throwing books around the house. So Regan had scopophobia, which is a fear of people staring at him, and this is incorporated within the game when you see doors being locked by eyeballs. So after Rose rings the police on Regan to say about the behaviour that she had witnessed, Regan said that this was due to a break-in into the home and hence why he was behaving like that. When police investigated, they found no signs of a break-in. Regan becomes quite aggressive towards hospital staff, and they have to restrain him, end up syringing him, heavily medicating him. Now, after a while, they then say that his behaviour has improved and he is ready to go home. When Regan arrives home, we see him in the final scene where he says he has enough evidence to take them down. It makes sense when we talk about Dwayne in the next chapter, and the ending of the game, it might tie in together. So we then suspect that Regan dies as a tall dark figure consumes over him and the door is closed and we hear Regan scream.
I knew it! Oh, they're in big trouble now! With everything I know, I'll definitely take them down! You hear me, fuckers? I'm on to you! Hey, what are you doing? Who sent you? Wait!
Now we get on to Dwayne Anderson, who you play during the entire game of Visage. Now, it is believed that Dwayne lived in the home in 1985. So, we know from the beginning of the game that Dwayne ends up killing himself after he shoots his family, which is his wife and his daughter. Now, as we progress within Dwayne's story, which is the fourth and final chapter, we see that he suffered from mental illness as there's pills for schizophrenia. We also know that Dwayne was an alcoholic, and this caused his marriage to break down, as throughout the game his wife is fighting with him, saying that he doesn't sleep in the bed anymore, he doesn't spend time with their daughter, and then it gets to a stage where she's telling him to kill himself and that she wouldn't mind. Which this ends up happening because we know from the start of the entire game of Visage that Dwayne kills himself and his family. Now, this is where the conspiracy theories come and where it starts to get a wee bit interesting. So, we know through flashbacks that Dwayne works with a company. Now, it is believed, based on conspiracy theories online and fans putting things together, that this company is the reason for Dolores, Regan, Lucy and Dwayne's mental illness, and it's all attached to this house. It is believed that the medication all of these went on to help their mental illness had something similar to the vibes of MK Ultra, where it was altering their state and actually making it worse. So if this is the case, is this where Regan was coming from when he was saying that he knew too much? What do you guys think? Have you played Visage? What are your thoughts on the whole MK Ultra conspiracy? Do you know any more about Visage? Have you picked up anything throughout the game? Let me know in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear. I find this story so interesting when it comes to Visage. Also, if you want to see me play these games before we talk about them on the YouTube channel, make sure to follow me over on twitch.tv/Sleeepwaalker, where I'm live every Tuesday and Thursday for horror games, and then the weekend for our community games. Get involved. Also, I will link the Discord down below so you can join and give your opinions on what games we should do next, what other content you want to see from the YouTube as well. Thanks for watching.